Yeah, well, Eric, in less than a week, investigators have rounded up several men they believe are responsible for brutally taking the life of 15-year-old Lisandro Guzman Feliz, also known as Junior. The latest arrest, a 23-year-old man who goes by the name of Elvin Garcia. Mr. Garcia, what do you have to say about this? Why did you decide to kill this 15-year-old boy? What do you have to say, Mr. Garcia? This is your chance now. Why did you do this to this family? Plus, the bodega where Junior was killed now officially open again. I'm Anthony Carlo, and coming up, I'll have details on what both the new owners and community members are now saying. 6 of those suspected killers were recently brought here to the 48th precinct around 12 p.m. after being extradited in New Jersey.
They don't deserve to live, killing a baby like that.
Mixed feelings of anger and gratitude for Leandra Feliz as she learns about the 13th arrest and the murder of her son, Lisandro, also known as Junior.
I feel happy because we're looking for justice for Junior.
Ronald Ureña, also known as Mega Divo, entered a not guilty plea to murder and other charges in Bronx Supreme Court Monday. Prosecutors say the 29-year-old is allegedly part of the Los Sordos subset of the Trinitarios gang and is accused of gathering with at least 12 other alleged members to plan an attack on a rival sect called Sunset. Chief of Detectives Dermot Shea said at a news conference Monday that police believe Ureña was in one of the vehicles that pursued Junior, a 15-year-old who was mistaken for a member of the rival sect and butchered outside of a Belmont bodega on the night of June 20th.
My son was no gang member. He was a sweet kid and good kid.
A family member of the latest suspect told a reporter Monday that Ronald Ureña was, quote, not part of the group. His lawyer had no comment. An assistant district attorney pointing out that one name was redacted from the latest indictment papers, indicating that a 14th suspect is still at large. We broke the news to Junior's mom. There is a 14th person out there. So
they're not supposed to come back to live a regular life.
Both Leandra Feliz and community members want to see more arrests.
I hope they keep getting all of them.
Ureña remains behind bars. He's due back in court on October 25th. At the Bronx County Hall of Justice, Anthony Carlo, News 12. Jess, this is a tragedy that has hit home for many people. The victim went by that nickname Junior, and justice for Junior has become the rallying cry for not only his family, but thousands of people who didn't even know him.
Justice for Junior!
The memorial services for 15-year-old Lisandro Guzman Feliz have spanned a few days. Capped off with a heartbreaking funeral mass Wednesday.
Something that impact the whole world.
Well, the whole world has been watching and waiting for police to track down the men responsible for taking an innocent life. And in less than a week, cops had at least 8 men in handcuffs now charged with Junior's death. On Wednesday, 6 men who had been extradited from New Jersey were walked out of the 48th precinct. The first one, Joaquin Martinez Estrella, prosecutors say he's the man wearing a red baseball cap in the video that went viral, giving Junior one final slash to the throat that ultimately ended his life. Then there's Jose Tavares, who prosecutors say helped point out where Junior was trying to hide inside of the Belmont bodega before he was viciously attacked. Antonio Hernandez Santiago, Manuel Rivera, Danel Fernandez, and Jose Muniz are all accused of taking part in the melee, some using knives and machetes to stab Guzman Feliz to death.
The way that they killed him, that's why. And I got grandkids, I got sons, and I wouldn't like something like that will happen to one of my family.
Their charges range from murder and manslaughter to gang assault, felony assault, and criminal possession of a weapon. Jose Muniz's lawyer spoke to us on camera.
I'd ask the public to reserve judgment. There's a large investigation underway, and while there's a lot known, there's also a lot that's not known and yet to come. Thank you.
Now, sources tell us police are investigating this as a case of mistaken identity, but police have not officially confirmed that for us on the record yet. These 6 men join 2 others who have already been arrested here in New York City. Kevin Alvarez and Elvin Garcia are both facing murder and other charges. It is not clear if there will be more arrests as this stays an ongoing investigation. These 6 men, who you just saw, all expected to be back in court July 2nd for grand jury action. Jess? Yes, well, Christina, Jess, as you can see, the bodega is shuttered now after being open for much of the day. The new owner tells me that he had to close temporarily to carry out some additional extermination work, right, because this business has been closed since June 20th. Community members, though, advising him to keep those shutters down so as not to put his life in jeopardy.
It hurts to know that they're reopening the store and
such a tragedy happened there.
Gabby, a classmate of Lisandro Jr. Guzman Feliz, says this is pure disrespect.
I feel like they haven't gave us enough time to mourn the death of our friend. I don't think that is acceptable.
The same surveillance cameras that showed 15-year-old Junior being dragged out of the bodega and hacked to death are now fully operational again. Customers purchasing items while a heavy police presence remains outside.
It's easy access. You know, this community, they don't have so much. So to have this store right here and have to go so far is a blessing.
The new owner, Wagner Baez, says he's not related to the previous owners who received lots of backlash from community members who accused them of not helping Junior, even though they claim they did.
I only say one chance to, stay here to open the store and take care of the business.
The father of three says he asked Junior's mother if he could name the store after the slain teen, but she declined. Junior's friend wanted to see this space used as something more beneficial to the youth, like a community center or a church.
Something that kids will feel safe coming over here.
Baez hopes the violence stops.
I hope it not happen again because, it's very hard to find stuff to figure out.
But this will be a safe haven for any children that come in here.
Yes, right, yeah, yes.
Now, Mr. Baez tells us he owns a couple of other bodegas in the area. He hasn't officially renamed this bodega, but says it will be called Waggy's 2. As for community members here, well, some of them continue to argue with police officers in front of the bodega, protesting its reopening. Prayers starting to get answered outside of the Bathgate Avenue bodega, where a 15-year-old boy was slashed and stabbed repeatedly on June 20th.
It was horrible to see what he went through.
Hopefully, justice is served, and they'll get what they deserve.
The NYPD, along with Bronx DA Darcel Clark, announcing that 5 of the 12 suspected murderers have been indicted on first-degree murder.
If convicted of the top charge of first-degree murder, defendants can face up to life in prison without parole.
We spoke to Junior's mother, who was in court.
Not really happy because I wasn't gonna have my son back.
All 12 defendants have been indicted on a flurry of charges that include second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter. According to the indictments, the defendants, members of the Los Soros sect of the Trinitarios, gathered at the house of their leader, Diego Suero, to plan an attack on another sect of the Trinitarios gang called Sunset.
They allegedly drove to the territory of the Sunset Group, came upon Junior.
An innocent young man with a great future was unjustly targeted and brutally murdered.
The NYPD crediting the public for providing a frenzy of tips via social media.
No one needs to live in fear in New York City.
Officials dispelled any rumors about Junior being mistaken for another boy in a sex tape, chalking that up to a social media story. Authorities would not discuss reports of an additional suspect fleeing to the Dominican Republic. As for these 12 men, they're expected back in court October 25th.